Sit down, strap in, and Granny put your teeth in your pocket. Lead Lap Radio powered by HMS Motorsport, the leader in motorsport safety, starts now.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Lead Lap Radio. My name is Tom Baker. I am joined at the rectangular table inside the Race Chaser Studios in Mooresville, North Carolina by Jacob Seelman. We have Chris Murdoch punching all the buttons on the production side in the tech shed this evening, and we've got quite a show. We're going to be joined at 7:15 by Kyle Souza, who is a writer for Race Chaser, still does some work for us, but also is the NASCAR Home Tracks Modified PR Director. And boy, Kyle broke some news this afternoon through NASCAR Home Tracks that certainly made me smile, Jacob Seelman. Modifieds coming back to Martinsville. It's about doggone time.
Did you feel that change from the floor below us?
Yeah.
Because as our friend Matt Weaver from Auto Week said earlier today, and I agree with, because I really didn't think it was going to happen, we both thought hell was going to freeze over before the Modifieds would actually come back to Martinsville. So, dear Clay Campbell, bravo, sir. Bravo.
Exactly. See, I never really felt like that was the case. I just wasn't sure why they weren't there, why they stopped running there. It didn't make a whole lot of sense to me why they ever dropped that show. That was always a very popular show. And I can remember back in the late 70s, early 80s, when I was still up in Oswego, as a teenager, listening to MRN's broadcast of modified races from Martinsville. I remember particularly it used to be called, one of the races used to be called the Azalea, I think it was the Azalea 250 or Azalea 300, whatever, how many ever laps it was, but I had to actually go look up what Azalea was.
It's a flower.
Yes. I mean, that was just the first time I had heard the word Azalea, so I had to go learn. So you learn things from listening to MRN, I guess. But and man, all the stars of the day, Jeff Bodine and Richie Evans and Bob Pulverari, and just all those guys, Charlie Jarzambek, the best of the best in the division. Satch Worley, Paul Radford from down here. I mean, Modifieds at Martinsville is just it's just amazing, and I am so excited that they're bringing them back. And we'll let Kyle give us the details, but they're going to be part of the NASCAR Spring Weekend next year, and that is
night race.
A night race at Martinsville for the Modifieds. It just there's only one way that it gets better than that. As I say hello to Shane Ryan Bailey, another one of the modified-aholics in our group.
Yeah, Shane shows up anytime the word not Martinsville,
no,
but
modified.
Yeah,
yes.
Modified
yes.
is uttered. So.
Hashtag modifieds, and Shane's there. Shane will go just about anywhere for modifieds.
This is also proof that my brain is scattered after a Memorial Sunday of racing and racing,
smothered
and racing.
Covered apparently as well. But
yeah, something like that.
We'll try and help you with that as we go through the show. I'll fill in as many of your blanks as I can. Yeah, I mean, modifieds in Martinsville is just something that to me that should have never been tampered with. Right. So I don't know all the reasons why they stopped racing there, but they've been gone 10 years and they're coming back. The only way it gets better for me is if the next announcement is, and running on the same card are the super modifieds, but we know that's not going to happen.
Correct.
So, but I can wish I'm allowed to do that. Yeah, it's just going to be a great show, and I think, to me, the time is right. Brand new LED lights. It's a night race in the spring, just prior to. It's early May, so right. It's, the part of the sort of wind-up to...
It's the weekend going into the All-Star race.
Yeah, so I was going to say, just part of the wind-up to all of the stuff here, Memorial Weekend and the All-Star Weekend and all of that. So to me, I think this is perfect timing to bring the modifieds back.
Stop and consider, by the way, while we're at it, some of the names that actually did participate in that last Whelen Tour race at Martinsville. You've got Bonsignor, who won the championship last year. Burt Myers, who I have to imagine is pleased as punch, to use an old phrase.
Oh, yeah.
That they're coming back. You've got Woody Pitcat. Jason Myers, Bert's brother, who doesn't really run any NASCAR Tour stuff now, but I would have to think maybe would dust the car off to go run Martinsville.
So. Yeah.
Ryan Preece, since it's a combo card with the Cup Series.
What do you think of the chances that he doesn't run that race? 0?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Andy Seiss, I bet dusts out a car to come run. Chris Pastriak actually was running the Wayne Darling car at that point. Brian Doza, who I would imagine both Seiss and Doza run that race. Yeah. Jimmy Blewett, oddly enough, was in the car that Blake Barney's now driving, because Blake is old enough to run, but Blewett's got a full-time tour ride this year. I mean, there are drivers in the field with past experience at Martinsville, which I think is going to make this very, very fun when we get to May of 2020.
Well, it will. And see, I think that's a deal where I think there's a chance, very real chance, that you see a couple of the NASCAR guys find rides and jump in. We know Ryan Newman's done it.
Newman.
But I think you could see more than Ryan Newman. I think you get them to Martinsville, and, I think you start, then you open it up to me, to a guy like a Clint Boyer or somebody who's
always wanted to but maybe hasn't done it.
Right, and won't do it at Loudon just because of the high speeds and and all of that.
Right.
But because it's Martinsville, I mean,
I think hasn't Boyer actually mentioned wanting to do one recently?
I don't know. He may have. I just you think about drivers like him, and even somebody. I mean, I doubt Joey Logano would.
Nah.
But he comes from modified country.
Yeah.
And you get him to Martinsville. Like I said, there'd be some of these guys that I think would probably love to take a shot if they could get rides.
I can't believe you guys are stepping over Ryan Preece.
Well, we
mentioned Preece already.
Yeah, we mentioned Preece.
You were punching buttons over there and must not have heard that. But Shane brings up the obvious point, maybe one of the Busch brothers, too.
Kyle Busch in the modified. Yes, please. I'll give him permission to moonlight for that race only, because that would be fun to watch.
It would be.
That's what I'm saying. I think, it's those types of things that NASCAR needs to do, and you got to have that, a little bit of that, going on just enough to attract the short track fans back to the NASCAR product again. And, you hear all kinds of things about what could be possible in 2021, and then I keep hearing the drinking phrase short tracks in relation to the schedule, and it makes me pretty excited to think about the fact that we could see, more of this type of situation, and maybe even see, Xfinity and or Cup on more short tracks that we could park the modifieds on with them. I wouldn't
mind.
I wouldn't either. I think it's high time that we started elevating the modifieds to a little higher status. I mean, I know New England is modified country, and I bless all of the fans and teams, because that's where a lot of them are from. But to me, we need to get more races back in the South again and expand, and I think a great way to do that is races like this at Martinsville, where you put them on with the Cup guys or, the NASCAR weekend as a whole. I just think on a Friday night, that is going to be a spectacular. The weather's usually, by the beginning of May, it's usually pretty warm. It's the perfect time. Springtime,
it is.
Perfect time to bring them.
And that last race in 2010 was, I believe, a daytime race, too. And I just think the nighttime is the right time for Martinsville. More grip. It seems whenever we turn the lights on, people every once in a while lose their heads and beat and bang, and it's fun.
Well, and Shane in the chat here is theorizing
Donnie Leah,
and I think
who hasn't been around for a while, but I no doubt would think he'd be back.
Yeah, you'd have to believe that there would be a few of the guys that you haven't seen in a while that might want to jump in.
I was going to say, I would go so far as to reckon that perhaps the long-lost Garbarino Mystic Missile might even make a reappearance for that
how cool
race.
would that be? I mean, with Donnie Lee aboard.
That could be fun.
Would be a ton of fun. I mean, that's, I think just to see, cars like that, the bowler car, the cars that are sort of the throwback to that earlier era. And it was like I was saying earlier, I remember listening to broadcasts on MRN from Martinsville, Eli Gold actually, in the early 80s, and all those names, the stars of that era, and just, glued to the radio up there in Oswego, listening to that and just thinking, wow, because when you're young, it seems so far away, right?
Right.
Then you realize as you get older, well, isn't that far? I can get there. Mm-hmm. I never had the chance to get there before they quit.
I think the good news about Martinsville, and I'll be interested Kyle's take on this too when we get him on in the next segment, but when we lost Bristol, and that was purely a cost move because it was so expensive to build cars for Bristol. It was so harsh on the modified equipment, and you tore a bunch of stuff up usually. But Martinsville is the kind of short track that, unless you're just beating and banging, which these guys know how to do, and they will. I don't think the track is near as intense on equipment going to Martinsville.
It's a flat track.
As it is taking them to Bristol. Brakes maybe, but brakes are much cheaper than cars. I think it gives the Modified Tour that true crown jewel type of event again that we really haven't had since Bristol went off the schedule. Yep,
and coincidentally, the event will take place in 2020.
Yep,
35 years after Richie Evans lost his life there in a practice crash in 1985. So I would hope that somehow that would be remembered as we go into that.
I would believe it.
That weekend for sure. But we'll have more about modifieds at Martinsville because it's my show, darn it, and I love modifieds. And Kyle Souza is going to join us to talk about it in the next segment. Don't go anywhere. Lead Lap Radio returns in a moment.
You own a performance car and you know how to drive, but you want to learn real performance driving. Well, Bunky, get that car off the street and onto the track. Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier road racing facility, located just over an hour from D.C. in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, is the place to go. And you'll find that Friday at the track is going to give you what you need. For less than a monthly car payment, you can attend this regularly scheduled one-day instructional event in your street car on one of Summit Point's 3 world-class road racing circuits. You'll receive classroom instruction, skid pad instruction in their cars, including front and rear skid control, and 4 20-minute in-your-car instructional sessions from a professional instructor. Have fun, go fast, and really learn how to drive. Call 304-725-8444 for class schedules and details. That's 304-725-8444. Friday at the track at Summit Point Motorsports Park.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on 2 things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Here's an important message from RAD and this station.
Hi, this is Bob Sheehan from Blues Traveler for RAD, recording artists against drunk driving. I like to party just as much as the next guy, maybe even more, but the one thing I won't do after I've had a few is get in the car and drive. Don't blow it. Always choose a designated driver. Remember, music lives, and so should you.
Automotive technicians and auto service trainees, how would you like to work at the beach and perform for one of the best car care centers in the nation? Louis Meineke is now looking for skilled automotive technicians to join their award-winning team. If you're a gearhead that knows his or her stuff or a young up-and-comer that has the motivation and drive to succeed, then you need to make this call today, 302-827-2054. Lewis Meineke Car Care Center, located in beautiful Lewis, Delaware, offers a highly competitive compensation plan, great benefits, a flexible schedule, and did we mention that you're going to be working at the beach? Plus, there's a signing bonus for the right candidates. Technicians must be ASE certified and have a minimum of 6 years experience. Beginners advance at your own pace in one of several entry-level positions. But whatever you do, don't wait. These jobs will go fast. Call Tim at 302-827-2054. That's 302-827-2054. Lewis Meineke Car Care Center. Rev up your career.
Hi, I'm Tyler Reddick, and you're listening to Race Talk on the Performance Motorsports Network.
Okay, so watching you scramble for your headset when you realized we were coming back after Chris said, hey, we're coming back, was really kind of funny just now.
2 steps ahead of myself there. Welcome back to Lead Lap Radio, presented by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsports safety. You can find them on the web at hmsmotorsport.com, and you should, by golly, because they're the best. They are the experts when it comes to motorsport safety. And we're talking about modifieds, one of my 2 favorite subjects to talk about on a radio show. The other one is the super modifieds, but they're not coming to Martinsville.
No.
We'll talk about them later if we get time, because they did open the season at Oswego, and we had the first ever female super modified feature winner at the Speedway over the weekend. So we'll try to carve out some time to talk about that later on. But right now we have Kyle Souza with us. Kyle from NASCAR Home Tracks. He's the modified writer, guru, however you want to say it. He knows modifieds. Kyle, modifieds at Martinsville. I'm extremely excited about this.
Yeah, what a major deal this is for not only NASCAR in Martinsville, but I think for the modified race fans, the modified teams, the modified drivers specifically. An absolutely fantastic deal that NASCAR's put together here, bringing the modifieds back to Martinsville. It'll be their first time back there in 10 years, so a decade away from that half mile of mayhem. I'm so thrilled to see that this came together. It's been kind of a work in progress here for many, many months. Clay Campbell and the gang there at Martinsville worked really hard to get it in place, and obviously NASCAR sealing the deal this week. Jacob, I know this is something we've talked about before, something that we thought might happen down the road, but I think everybody kind of surprised today when the announcement came up.
No, really? It's as if you don't think Matt Weaver and I still, have gotten rid of the ice crystals on our shoes, because we were in the camp that thought hell was freezing over before the modifieds were coming back to Martinsville. So color all of us wrong. I'm impressed. I'm happy. I'm excited. I'm curious, though, and you can gauge this because you are around the tour more than just about anybody. What's been the reaction, and why is now the right time for this to happen?
Yeah, I think so to answer the first part of your question, the reaction's been great today through social media. I've talked to a lot of drivers, either by text or phone call. I've talked to Justin Bonsignor, Doug Cody, Woody Pitcat, Eric Goodale, somebody else, Ryan Preece. I talked to Ryan Preece this evening, Monster Energy Cup Series guy that's a former Whelen Modified Tour champion. I've talked to multiple others, all of those on the phone today, multiple others via text. And not just Modified Tour guys either, modified race fans up here in New England, even scrolling Facebook just a few minutes before I came on the show this evening. The buzz around this whole deal is really, really good. Everybody seems to be excited about it, really happy to be going back to Martinsville, not only for the race itself, but the fact that this race is under the lights on Friday night on a Cup weekend, I think adds even more incentive to this. And if you read the story that went up on NASCAR.com just a couple hours ago now, a lot of the drivers that I talked to, that's what they're most excited about, not just the return, but under the lights and what that's going to do for this event. And the timing portion of this, Jacob, I think the lights in Martinsville were a perfect match. And I think the Cup weekend being on Saturday night up there was another perfect match. They needed a touring series to come in. It kind of fits the Whelen Modified Tour schedule well. We're known to run these southern races at the beginning of the year. That way when we get towards the middle of the summer, the guys can stay local and run some of our Stafford, Thompson, our local tracks. It's just the timing kind of fell in place. I think Clay Campbell, the president of Martinsville, said it right today. Everybody had asked when they're coming back. well, now they're coming back, and Clay thought that this was the right time for him and the facility as well. That's important here. It's going to be the right time for NASCAR, but it's also going to be the right time for the track. And I think, there was a happy medium there that worked out.
Well, certainly just a look back. The Modified started racing at Martinsville in 1960, raced every year through 2002. Virginian Ray Hendrick, who is also the career leader in overall wins at Martinsville with 20, is the all-time leader in Modified wins at Martinsville with 15. Hall of Famer Richie Evans is second with 10, and coincidentally, in qualifying for the 86 Modified event, Greg Sachs, who I think in 85, if I'm not mistaken, was when he won the Daytona Firecracker race.
I believe that's right.
So the following year, he goes to Martinsville and set the track record for all divisions at Martinsville that still stands. 101.014 mile an hour average. That is pretty sporty on that flat Martinsville track, Kyle.
Yeah, and I wonder what the speed's going to be like when we go back.
Too.
I think you look back to 2010. That was maybe the evolution of the new style of setups, but I really think it was just before it. So they were probably running a little bit different of a setup. Now they're going to go back there on a big bar soft spring setup that's got more grip to begin with at some of the tracks up here. We've set track records over the last couple of years up here. I know we did it at Stafford. So I don't know. I don't quite think the speed might not be that fast to break a track record there. I'm not sure though. It might be. I think that's going to be something that we're going to have a lot of back and forth about. And we've still got a whole year before this event, which I think makes it even better, that we've got a year to promote it for the fans that are local, a year to promote it for New England race fans on how they're going to get down there, and a year for these teams to start thinking about in the back of their mind how we're going to set up to go there. I'm sure the practice time is going to be enough down there, but you got to show up close. And, you talk to any of the Whelen Modified Tour guys that run up here constantly in the whole 16, 17 race championship schedule, they will say you have to unload off the truck strong. And I think that's going to be even more important when we go there next year. There's going to be guys that unload at the top, and they're probably going to be the guys that contend for the win. Talking to Doug Cody earlier, his crew chief, Phil Moran, was crew chief on a couple of cars when we ran there before. So he might have a little bit of an upper edge on some of these other guys, which is going to be important. If somebody's got an edge, it's probably going to pay to their advantage.
Imagine that. We're going to a track where Doug Cody and his team might have an edge. Shocking, isn't it? Haven't run there in 10 years, but somehow they're still going to have an edge.
Well, it's not like Martinsville changes all that much from year to year. So any notes that you had from 2010 are probably somewhat still applicable. I was talking about this in the last segment, Kyle, that there's actually a healthy number of drivers who ran the last Whelen Modified Tour race in 2010 that are still in the field, including the defending champion, Justin Bonsignor.
Yeah, and talking to some of the guys that had run this afternoon, including Justin, I think Justin had said to me, I don't remember the exact quote, but if you read the story that I wrote, you'll see it. But he had said to me, hey, if I would have known it was going to be the last time we were going to be there for 10 years, I would have tried a little harder to win that race instead of finish second. I think that advantage of having just at least some laps around there is going to help those drivers and teams. I do also think that since the setups have evolved, things are going to be different. It's going to be a little bit different to get acclimated. And it wouldn't shock me at all if some of these guys that have never been there are at the top of their game when they show up to the track there next May. Again, that whole year anticipation, that whole year to talk back and forth with the race team. I know these guys are going to focus on race to race up here as they're still chasing a championship on one of the most historic tours in history in 2019. But they're going to start looking ahead probably sooner rather than later to figure out what it's going to be that they're going to need to get the job done. And from a track perspective and NASCAR's perspective, they're going to start doing the same thing, figuring out the details about that event. When are things going to happen? How's it going to work? And I'm interested to see that schedule and see how the practice time works. And then, the race being on Friday night adds a whole nother dimension to this with the lights. It's just a spectacle that you really are not going to want to miss, something that I am more than excited to get to. I've already marked it on my calendar for 2020, and I've still got 60 or so races to go in 2019, so we'll see.
I think there's two big points to add here for a long, up through that 2010 race. The Martinsville race was in most years 300 laps. Next year going to be a 200 lapper, which I think is going to increase the intensity a little bit more, Kyle. And to add, the backing that the track has from Max Pro Window Films coming on board to support this event, I think can't be understated either. That not just a big sponsor, but a local North Carolina, Virginia sponsor is coming on board to back this race, I think is a really cool deal.
Well, make no mistake, Jacob, that is a very, very valid point. Without this sponsorship, there's a chance this race doesn't happen, right? I mean, they need a sponsor to put on a marquee event like this. They can't call it the Martinsville 200 and foot the bill for this. That's just the reality of the sport. And we do see some tracks do it even for the higher up levels with the Xfinity, the Gander Outdoors trucks, and the Cup Series. But, they needed a sponsor to make this happen. If somebody didn't come through as a sponsor, there was a chance it wasn't going to happen. So, absolutely, props to them for coming forward. It was great to see them as part of the press conference this morning and give their input on what they thought. They are thrilled about it as well. That press conference, Tommy Baldwin was there, another guy that's been part of modified racing for many years and has seen modified races at Martinsville himself with his dad's car. So, if you can't tell, I'm so excited. This has really come together in a rather short period of time. It's been talked about for a while, and the anticipation's been there for them to return, but this whole thing kind of came together, and the props to Martinsville for putting this on the line. They're really the ones in the end that make the decision. NASCAR can want to go there with the modifieds all they want, but if Martinsville's not really interested, well, that's not going to happen. So props to Clay Campbell, that gang over there. They are thrilled to have the modifieds in, the sponsorship, and the local media as well. Reading some of the stories today that the local media was able to flush out after the announcement. It seems like the anticipation in the area is great. Don't forget, this is going to add a little bit more of a revenue and income to the local area as well to bring in the modified tour. So everything seems to be good so far. I'm sure there'll be kinks that we'll work through over the next year, but for right now, everything is at the top of its game.
Shane Ryan Bailey in our chat he's already making predictions here. But the news is barely out, and the quote is, "Did you hear that noise? That's Cody rearranging furniture to make room for that grandfather clock." I suspect that the competition is going to be a little bit offended by that, because I don't think it's a lock that Doug Cody wins this thing. He's going to have to, I think everybody's going to step up their game and prepare extra hard for this. We got one more segment with Souza and one more announcement that he made this afternoon to talk about as well. Around the turn, when we come back, you are listening to or watching Lead Lap Radio. Back in a moment.
Do you love the sound of high-revving motors and the smell of burning rubber? Do you want to get your car sideways right at the ragged edge of control? If you've always wanted to try drifting or learn to improve your drifting skills, Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier motorsports facility, has the expert instructors and the specialized track to teach you how to drift and the skills necessary to drift competitively. From skid pad to open sessions, Summit Point Motorsports Park has the safe and open environment that allows drifters of all skill levels, new to intermediate, to get sideways and smoking. With a focus on safety and the skill set necessary to drift competitively, Summit Point Motorsports Park's Drift Nirvana is just the thing for you. Call for your reservation today, 304-725-8444. Or for more information, go online, summitpoint-raceway.com, or you can email them at office@bsrinc.com. Drift Nirvana, getting you sideways the right way.
HMS Motorsport is the leader in motorsport safety. HMS serves a majority of NASCAR, IndyCar, and IMSA WeatherTech teams, as well as countless SCCA and club-level racers and driving enthusiasts throughout North America. Featuring world-renowned brands like Schubert helmets, Schroep belts, Adidas suits and shoes, Valero fireproof underwear, Lifeline fire systems, and even Racecom radio kits, HMS has the right product for your type of racing and your budget. Their representatives are experts on making your track driving as safe as possible. With locations in Mooresville, North Carolina, and Danvers, Massachusetts, the staff at HMS is always ready to take the time and help you find the right product for your specific safety needs. You have family and friends who care about you, so don't settle for second when it comes to motorsport safety. Just stop in to HMS Motorsport, visit them on their website at hmsmotorsport.com, or send them a message on Facebook. Tell them the folks from Race Chaser Media sent you.
What an awesome game.
What's up with your car?
I don't know. It won't start.
How are we getting home?
Chill. My parents signed me up for the roadside assistance from Lewis Meineke. It was free with my oil change. They'd come and get the car started or get us home and tow the car to the shop.
Good to know. With my driving, my parents never know what to expect.
When you join the Meineke Car Care Club with a $35 preferred service, you get 4 free months of roadside assistance, including tire change, battery jump, lockout service, towing, and more. Contact Lewis Meineke, located on Route 1, or call 827-2054.
When do you think of a plumber? Like most people, even if it's an emergency, you can be confident about who will arrive to help you. For quality and reliability, count on someone you can trust. Call on the plumbing services of Hague Quality Water of Maryland. Plumbing doesn't have to be an emergency. We handle all kinds of preventative maintenance too. Hague Quality Water of Maryland is family owned here in Annapolis since 1993. For a refreshing choice, call us at 888-84-WATER or visit us online.
COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, is a lung disease that robs people of their ability to breathe. As many as 24 million Americans suffer from COPD, also known as chronic bronchitis or emphysema, and half of them don't know they have the disease. If you or someone you love is over 35 and has smoked more than 100 cigarettes in their lifetime, visit driveforcopd.org and take the screener, then take that to your doctor. I'm Jeff Stoltz, and I drive for COPD.
Hi, I'm John Holloman, and you're listening to Race Talk on the Performance Motorsports Network. Now back to the show.
John Holloman was, well, let's just say that John had an eventful morning at Bowman Gray a couple of weeks ago. We'll deal with that later.
Yeah.
We're talking modifieds at Martinsville right now, and we've got Kyle Souza with us. And, you know, this, as big of an event as this is, I mean, it just feels to me like the timing, everything has come together, and this has all the makings of one of the events of the year. But before we talk more about that, I want to make sure that we slide over and catch the other announcement that you made earlier, because it involves a second-generation driver whose father was awesome in the modifieds and won a lot of races in the mods before coming down south to race in the big cars of NASCAR. Max McLaughlin actually going to be stepping behind the wheel of a modified, I understand, one of Keith Rocco's cars to boot. Talk about that.
Yeah, and this is another one of those announcements that kind of shocked me when I saw it today. And then in the mix of this Martinsville announcement and the mix of the phone ringing off the hook and me making phone calls all day, I scrolled across social media once and found this. Haven't talked to Max about it quite yet, but did, you know, make a tweet about it, make a short post to say he was going to be doing this. This is really cool for a lot of reasons. The first, for him specifically, I look at this as a great opportunity for him to get seat time at a tough track. High bank, you know, 5/8 mile oval in Connecticut that is really tough to pass on, really tough to knock down the line to have, and he needs to run the K&N Pro Series race just 10 days after he's going to run this modified. So for him, and the modified might even go faster around that track than K&N, or pretty close. So he's going to get a nice feel for the banking, a nice feel for the passing zones on the track, if there's any. It's a really tough track to pass. But running the Sunoco mod is going to put him in a really good place for that K&N race. The second thing is he's in a Keith Rocco car. I mean, he is not coming out with a car that was slapped together, you know, with a half setup in it and trying to go to the front. He is going to be in the best of the best equipment with the best of the best setup with a 7-time champion at Thompson setting that car up. I mean, I expect him to be up there at the front of the class right at the beginning and be in contention to win. I'm sure he'll take a couple laps to get acclimated, but he's a race car driver who's driven a lot of different race cars. I'm sure he'll figure it out running that Hattori Racing slate in the K&N Pro Series East this year. And Tom, not only is he going to run that Sunoco modified race, but this race is really shaping up to be a big one. Ryan Preece is coming back to Thompson on a week off. He's going to run this Wednesday Sunoco mod race. You've got Ronnie Williams running full-time there now, who won the Sunoco mod title, the SK mod title over at Stafford last year. Keith Rocco himself, obviously, And another bombshell that I just learned of a few short minutes ago, George Brunholzl is going to run in a Sunoco mod at Thompson that night, driving the backup car for one of the local drivers. So, I mean, this Sunoco mod 30-lap race is star-studded to begin with, and we just added 3 or 4 names that are going to go down probably as some of the best ever to run racing in general. Brunholzl, multiple time Southern Modified Tour champion and multiple time winner everywhere he goes. So this race is shaping up to be a 30-lapper that you are not going to want to miss.
Boy, that's a great lineup, and that's why I love some of the midweek shows. They used to do a lot more of that up in New York and New England. Even Oswego back in the early 70s had a series of Wednesday night modified specials each year and drew everybody that was anybody in modified racing for those. I'm psyched. I mean, that's going to be a neat deal, and it's a good deal, a good opportunity for Max, Jacob, because he's trying to get more pavement experience, and it gives him a chance to do that. And I've got to believe he's just chomping at the bit to get one of those modified cars because he knows, what his dad was able to achieve, and that's just another bit of the bucket list that he could check off.
Exactly.
That Mike did so well, right?
Exactly. I was thinking about that too. Just another parallel between father and son, and you stop and consider he's jumping in a Keith Rocco car. It's as if somebody was going into the Truck Series for the first time and getting behind the wheel for Kyle Busch Motorsports. You're not just jumping into junk. You're jumping into the best equipment with the best team at that particular racetrack or in that particular series. So the expectations are going to be high. I expect him to do extremely well, and I think Max would put a lot of that expectation and pressure on himself when it comes to, wanting to be successful. He's not going to want to go there and run like junk. He's going to want to go there and win.
Well, no, but of course, it's hard to go into that. I mean, you're going into the lion's den.
True.
I would argue that going and doing that in terms of the competition and the situation is almost a level above K&N.
Yeah.
Because there's so many guys in that modified division that have been doing it, Kyle, for years. And here comes Max, and I think he's just going to have a blast. I'm sure he'll want to finish well, but as long as, everything goes well and he can roll it in with the wheels and fenders and bumpers on it, I got to believe Max is going to come out of that car with a big old smile on his face.
Yeah, I think so, and I think, for a couple of reasons. First, running a modified at Thompson is going to be thrilling to begin with. The speed that goes on there, diving off in that corner, that is one of the top tracks to get behind the wheel of a modified anywhere in the country, and one of the toughest local modified weekly divisions that you will find anywhere in the country. That and Stafford's SK Modified, to me, the top 2 modified weekly classes in all of New England, and probably 2 of the toughest in the entire United States for Division I NASCAR Wheel and All-American Series. I put that right up against some of the late model divisions down south, especially at South Boston when you got Philip Morris, Peyton Sellers, and Lee Pulliam all in the weekly class. So, this is going to be a big event, not only for the Sunoco mods, but, of course, the Wheel Modified Tour are going to be there as well with their 6th race of the season, the Thompson 125. Priest is running that race as well, so we're going to see him doing double duty that night. Of course, you've got the storylines of the Wheel Modified Tour. Bonsignor has won a lot of races in a row at Thompson, 5 in a row. The only driver to do that in Wheel Modified Tour competition. And Jacob, the only thing that I forgot to mention about this whole event, if you can't be there, it's going to air in its entirety live on fanschoice.tv, something Thompson put together for all 10 of their races this year. The entire show live on Fans Choice, so the fans like you guys down south that can't make it up here are going to be able to watch this live on Fans Choice and see how McLaughlin does in that first Sunoco mod attempt.
Dear Fans Choice, dear NASCAR, thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
This is a wonderful thing.
It really is.
I'm glad you mentioned that Priest was running the tour race because that was going to be my next question. And I'm assuming I already know the answer to this, but just to clarify in case people have been under a rock for a while, I would assume that he's going to run the Partridge car?
Yeah, so the funny thing is I actually talked to Ryan earlier today about Martinsville, and I was starting to think about, running Thompson. So we got into that conversation as well. He has actually been working on a car down south that's going to come up here to run, owned by Eddie Partridge, absolutely. But it's a chassis dynamics car. And And we went back and forth. He didn't think that a chassis dynamics car has won on the Whelen Modified Tour in something like 10 years.
It's been a while.
And in an age where you see LFR and Troy are merging together in some shape or fashion, I really don't think that that's 100%. We haven't learned everything around that merger yet. I think there's still more to come. But with those two major chassis manufacturers coming together sort of as one here going forward, and in a sense, to me, eliminating some of that chassis competition that we would have up here between LFR and Troy, or adding another chassis like Chassis Dynamics back into this fray. I'm really interested to see how he does. He was really confident, though, that they were going to show up with a really stout piece and put it at the front of the field. And it makes you wonder, Tom, if going forward, if he runs well, do we see more Chassis Dynamics cars come out of the woodwork and come into fray? I know LFR's been so strong, but it makes you wonder going forward. If Ryan Priest can win in a Chassis Dynamics car and run up front, that would tell me that there's some other people that might consider going that route.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Chassis Dynamics, and this goes back a good while, I think at one time, I think that was Bobby V., a long-time modified driver that started that. And I think he and Jeff Bodine got together and it became Bo Dynamics at one point. And so I'm interested if I'm right about that, my memory serves me correct. I'm interested in that, Jacob, because that would be, again, another kind of rebirth coming back into the landscape for modifieds, like Kyle said, with Troy and LFR merging. That could be fun if Ryan runs well.
Well, before we let him go, I'm glad, I can't believe it took us this long to actually get to that and bring it up, Kyle, but that cataclysmic bombshell that happened, what's what's your take? Because I know when that email came in, and I was already sitting in the media center at Charlotte when that announcement came out. But when that came out Thursday, I kind of looked at that, and I had to look at it about 3 times, like, what?
Yeah, I think so. Here's the thing with that announcement. An announcement that I had a sense was coming over the next couple of weeks. It kind of was dropped as you would say, a little bit of a bombshell. Yeah. I'm not really sure what to think, Jacob. It's a little early, I think, to speculate on exactly how things are going to go. I haven't had a chance to talk with Rob Fuller about exactly how that's working out. That's kind of on my list of things to do here in the next couple of days. But, again, back to what I said just a short time ago, I'm a little bit, from a modified perspective, the modified fan and the modified, I'm a little bit concerned. I'm a little bit concerned about that chassis dynamic. No, that was funny. I didn't mean Chassis Dynamics, but now we're talking about dynamics again. I'm a little bit concerned about that competition going forward. LFR and Troyer had a competitive match going into the Whelen Modified Tour races. I know there's a lot of LFR cars right now, and the LFR cars have been so dominant that if somebody was going to buy a brand new car, I think if I was a driver, I'd be going to LFR. But there were still Troyers running well and running competitively. So I'm interested to see that dynamic going forward. What's going to happen? Are they going to merge completely to the point where Rob Fuller is starting to help with setups on the Troyer chassis? If so, did we just lose all our chassis competition on the Whelen Modified Tour? Because there's not many cars if they're not LFR or Troyers. So that concerns me a little bit going forward, but I'm not going to speculate too much about what exactly is going to happen until we get the fine concrete details. Colton from Troyer kind of saying they're going to twist a little bit more of their focus towards the dirt side. They've been really competitive there, so that's probably the right move for them. Fuller obviously been really competitive and won so many races on the Whelen Modified Tour that's the right move for him too. So, and talking to some drivers over the last couple of days, they're not really 100% sure how it's going to roll either. I think we're kind of going to learn this together, which adds a whole other dimension to this stretch that's coming up here in the next 5 or 6 days. We've got Seekonk on Saturday night. A home game for me, which I'm really excited about. But we turn around and go to Thompson 5 days later for the June 5th Wednesday show. So this is a tough stretch for teams to begin with. You probably got 2 cars that you're going to run, one at Seekonk, one at Thompson. If you wreck at Seekonk, what are you going to do? I mean, this is a tough stretch to begin with. I'm excited to see how this chassis situation plays out, but a little bit concerned if we're losing some of the chassis competition. Hate, and I think Fury Race Cars put this out in a statement they put up. Hate is not that great, but hate in motorsports between competitors might be good. It might create some of that fire between chassis departments like we'd see between, the Celtics and the Lakers in the NBA, two rivals. The chassis guys are kind of rivals as well, trying to see if their product can win versus somebody else. So we'll see how that plays out going forward.
Yeah, it certainly will be interesting, and maybe this chassis dynamics thing is also coming up at the right time, because that could sort of fill some of that competitive gap. If LFR and Troy are kind of together now, you get chassis dynamics back in the fold, and you've now kind of got that going. So it'll be interesting. Kyle Souza, thank you for spending the time with us tonight. We do appreciate it, and we look forward to talking with you more as this modified season unfolds here.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. Really excited for this Martinsville deal. If you haven't seen any of the races on Fans Choice this year, I beg you to tune in Saturday night at Seekonk, one of the toughest facilities for drivers to get around in all of New England. And there are 32 cars entered, so I'm excited to see it play out.
Wow. Okay, fanschoice.tv on Saturday night for the Modifieds at Seekonk. With that, Lead Lap Radio, presented by HMS Motorsport, returns much more after this.
Everywhere you go, you hear it, and you see it. It's coming at you through your phone, your tablet, and your computer. It's broadcast from your favorite radio station, TV networks, and cable companies. It's in the stadiums, the arenas, the ballparks. It screams for your attention at the mall. It's interactive on Main Street. It's even coming at you from the gas pump at the nearby convenience store. What is it? It's digital content. It's digital content. It's digital content. Somebody has to create it. Somebody has to manage it. So whether your dream is to write it, design it, create it, call it, produce it, voice it, host it, light it, shoot it, switch it, record it, color correct it, edit it, code it, repurpose it, tweet it, blog it, post it, compress it, upload it, replay it, or make sure it gets to where it's got to go when it's got to get there in the format it's got to be in, you need to attend
Carolina School of Broadcasting.
The skills you will learn, the experience you will get, and the connections you will make at Carolina School of Broadcasting will open the doors to the career you want in digital content creation and digital content management. Call or come by today. Click csbradiotv.edu.
Parents, your son or daughter has had their license for a while now, but you want to make sure they're prepared for any situation they may face on the road. High school driver's ed doesn't teach them to drive defensively. They need to be prepared for any highway emergency. For less than a month's insurance, and a whole lot less, BSR instructors at Summit Point Motorsports Park in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, will teach your son or daughter how to respond instantly and positively to unexpected situations on the road. BSR's specialized accident avoidance training teaches swerve to avoid maneuvers at highway speeds, ocular driving, which focuses driving attention on ways to avoid accidents, vehicle dynamics and feedback, skid control and skid recovery, threshold braking on straights and progressive braking on curves, and off-road recovery techniques. This is stuff driver's ed simply doesn't teach. So call BSR today, 304-725-8444. Give your kid the skill set needed to drive safely and responsibly on the highway. That's 304-725-8444.
This is a test to find out if you know it all when it comes to children. Name one of the leading killers of U.S. children age 1 to 13. What's the best way to protect children in a car crash? At what age and size should a child start using a booster seat?
Don't assume you know it all when it comes to car seats for your child. Go to safercar.gov/the-right-seat and know for sure. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Tyler Dippel, and you're listening to the Performance Motorsports Network. Now back to the show.
Welcome back to Lead Lap Radios. We have a little fun dippling here to.
Well, you have a little fun dip. I embarrassed myself the last time I tried.
Well, you were sort of super dippling or something. I don't know quite what that was, but it was entertaining to watch. That's for sure. As we continue with Lead Lap Radio, we switch now for at least a little while from modifieds to the Big Three. You may ask, what are the Big Three? Well, of course, the 3 Sunday races, naturally. You had Formula One's Monaco Grand Prix in the morning, Indy 500 in the afternoon, and the Coca-Cola 600 to round it out for the stock car bunch. Again, some great racing through the day. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that, to be able to have 3 races like that. Wasn't super impressed with. I didn't see a whole lot of Monaco because I was at church, but I saw the last few laps. I was definitely impressed with how hard my particular favorite F1 driver, Max Verstappen, was chasing the perennial winner, Lewis Hamilton. But, you know, we have a thing in open wheel racing where if you touch somebody, even if you're not trying to touch them, if you touch them, it goes under investigation. And, of course, Max really wasn't going to win the race anyway because he already got a 5-second penalty from a pit error that shouldn't have happened.
Well, I was going to say, shouldn't have happened. No, but it did happen, and it was absolutely a justified penalty because that was a safety issue, and Red Bull absolutely blew that out of the water.
Yeah,
so I'm not questioning that. But the reason Max was pushing so hard was because he knew if he could get gone from Lewis and get ahead by 5 seconds, he was going to win that race.
You know what that was called? Wishful thinking. But he gave it his best shot. And,
I was going to
say, and honestly, it's a shame that Red Bull had made that error because it ended up costing Max second. He dropped to fourth in the finishing order, right ahead of his teammate Pierre Gasly, I might add, who finally, I mean, that team, Pierre's piece of Red Bull, his team has been a dumpster fire for a lot of this year, and that was easily his best run. And it comes on the circuit's hardest track where there's virtually no passing. And so it's really I thought a great accomplishment for Gasly to end up in the top 5.
No, he did a great job. He really did. And I think he wished it could have been better, but certainly a couple of times through the race with setting a couple of fastest laps during the course of the race was, really shows that I think when we get on some tracks where passing is more at a premium and he's going to have a shot, and I think
less at a premium actually is what you want to say.
Yeah. You knew what I meant.
Yeah.
Where
you can actually pass.
Yes. Thank you. But I think you're going to see Gasly actually challenge Verstappen as the number 1 driver at Red Bull.
Yeah.
At some facilities later this season. I don't think it's going to happen instantaneously, but I've definitely seen some flashes of brilliance from Pierre. As far as Lewis is concerned, though, it kind of blew my mind that this was only his 3rd Monaco Grand Prix victory for as good as he's been there over the years. But then I started thinking about how many races that Mercedes has cost him at Monaco the last few years. There's at least 2 of Nico's wins at Monaco that probably should have belonged to Lewis and didn't. So
that's why I said, where he perennially, because it's the races, at least in recent years, that he's lost have not been because he's lost them. It's been because they were lost for him.
Right.
In my opinion. But so we had that, and that was that was the sort of the scene setter for the day, and it was almost as if, if you're an open wheel fan, you watched Monaco and that was okay. And then the Indy 500 said, "You think that was spectacular? Hold my beer." Because, man, let me tell you something. Once they threw the green flag at Indy, that race was
Game
just off the chain. Yeah, that was easily the best race of the day and one of the most exciting 500s I've seen in recent years. It came right to the wire. Why? Is everybody saying different?
Yeah, I've heard so many people say that other than the finish, it was a terrible 500. Like, I don't know what race you were watching, but I was enthralled.
Out of your minds.
Here's the deal. Yes, I understand that Simon Pagenaud led 116 of 200 laps. You know why? He had a good race car. Yes, but there was action throughout the field. It wasn't just the battle for the lead maybe not being great all the time. This was a tremendous the strategy element to this 500, for as few cautions as we had for most of it, I thought was really entertaining. And up until the big crash with 20 to go, you had to start wondering whether Chevy fuel economy versus Honda fuel economy was going to play a factor into the finish of that race. And it looked like maybe it was falling into Rossi's lap like it did in 2016. And then Sebastian Bourdais and Graham Rahal decided to fight.
Well, I mean, it really wasn't a matter of fighting. Sebastian just decided to turn left, and Graham Rahal was there. It was a really bad move on Sebastian's part.
It was.
But, and that was a shame because Graham was on his way to the front.
He was.
Sebastian really wasn't advancing, but Ray Hall had to come from the back of the field, and he worked so hard all day, had a good race car, and you saw what his teammate Sato did, finishing third and darn near taking second away.
You know what? I don't want to. I hate playing, Tuesday night quarterback or whatever. But honestly, if Sato could have ever gotten to second, I think he had something. It was just that he got stuck in third and could never get a shot to run on the leader.
It would have been probably, if he could have gotten there in time.
Right.
But, the deal I felt like Rossi had a better car than Pagano did.
Pagano just had, as Rossi said,
had more
horsepower.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what it came down to. I mean, it was Rossi willing that car that got him as close, as it was. I mean, I thought the race was a great race. I don't know what everybody is maligning it for, other than, some of the pit stops were just awful for a lot of the day. It was as if half these pit crews have never done this before. And, in Indy's and the officials' ridiculous penalty of Castro Neves for, bumping into a car that stopped in front of him because, he had overshot his pit and panicked. I mean, that clearly that was unavoidable contact. Elio tried to swerve to the right and go by him and, just couldn't get all the way there. I mean, Davis had just stopped because he overshot his pit. And, I totally disagreed with that. Yet Oriol Servia was out there driving like a complete dumbbell and, interfering with the leaders, and, they didn't see fit to penalize him. So the way I looked at that is I just thought they made some awful calls during the day. But, I thought the race itself was absolutely phenomenal. And
yes.
I mean, there's more stories from that race, in my opinion, than we can possibly talk about in the time that we have left on the show.
Hang on. Number one, Simon Pagano saved his job.
Well, see, I don't know if he saved his job. Nobody knows.
He did. No, yes, he did. Roger Penske said in the post-race press conference when somebody asked him point blank about Simon's future with the team, Roger, quote, Do I have to answer that question? Why don't you answer that question for me? Absolutely, he's coming back next year.
But see, then somebody said, well, because the rumor was that he goes, that's scuttlebutt. That was nothing but scuttlebutt. And so we don't know what the truth is about Simon Pagano and his job at Penske. If Roger makes up his mind that he wants to add a car and go, throw $6 million of money at Alex Rossi, then he'll give it his best shot. I'm not sure he's going to win that bidding war, but he certainly will. If that's what Roger wants, he'll do his best to make it happen. But I don't believe you do it at the expense of Simon Pagano, because I've said all along, Simon Pagano didn't just forget how to drive. I mean, everybody goes through seasons where they just can't make it happen. And Simon, it seems like one Penske car every year is just a little bit below the rest. The last year it was Simon's year to be that car. And this year, at least according to the month of May, he's not that car anymore. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes from here. But I don't necessarily buy that he saved his job, but he certainly didn't do anything to increase his odds of being, set packing. If anything, he just put the exclamation point and basically went, okay, fire me now. Really?
Yeah.
Because
that's right.
Obviously every other team in the series would be bidding for him if,
Duh.
So, again, you can't really lose in that position.
Yes. Oh, by the way. Simon Pagano wasn't the only first-time winner at the Indianapolis 500 on Sunday. You know who else was a first-time winner?
Who else?
John Menard.
Right.
After all this time, John Menard finally sees his colors in victory lane, not on in the Indy 500.
Not the Brickyard.
Correct. As he said, that's not the pinnacle.
Right.
This is the pinnacle.
Yeah.
And, I mean, shoot, some of the greatest heartbreaks in Indy history were with Menards cars. Tony Stewart, Robbie Gordon.
It was both.
Yeah, it was both.
Because I was going to say, I remember Stewart, and I was thinking
Robbie running out of fuel on the last coming to the white flag. That was the year Kenny Breck won the Indy 500.
That's right.
I could go on, and as I wrote in the piece that I did yesterday, some of the most legendary names in racing, not just IndyCar racing, but in racing, have driven for Team Menard, back when that was a thing over the years. And when he hooked up with Simon Pagenaud in 2016, I said to myself, this is John Menard's best shot at winning a 500. And now, finally, he's got one. And stop and consider this, too, by the way. You've got Simon Pagenaud, who's won a championship and an Indy 500 for Team Penske.
Yep.
You've got Will Power, who's won a championship and an Indy 500 for Team Penske. And you've got Joseph Newgarden, who's won a championship and done everything but win an Indy 500 for Penske.
Yeah.
So right now, you have three of the best of this generation on one team, pushing each other absolutely, I think, to the limit, Tom. And it's going to make this so much fun to watch going forward.
I absolutely agree. And we will talk more Indy. We'll talk NASCAR. We've got Millbridge to talk about. We've got all kinds of stuff. First female winner at Oswego. We'll talk about her, too, before the show ends. And, oh, by the way, we've got a special guest coming up in about 15 minutes. The winner of the Little 500, Tanner Swanson, is...
Wrong Swanson,
sorry.
Cody Swanson.
Cody Swanson is going to be one of those Swansons.
In fairness, when they're standing next to each other, I get them mixed up,
I was going to say,
too.
they look a lot alike. Anyways, I'll get my Swanson straight while you watch this and listen to this. We'll be right back.
You own a performance car and you know how to drive, but you want to learn real performance driving. Well, Bunky, get that car off the street and onto the track. Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier road racing facility, located just over an hour from D.C. in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, is the place to go. And you'll find that Friday at the track is going to give you what you need. For less than a monthly car payment, you can attend this regularly scheduled one-day instructional event in your street car on one of Summit Point's 3 world-class road racing circuits. You'll receive classroom instruction, skid pad instruction in their cars, including front and rear skid control, and 4 20-minute in-your-car instructional sessions from a professional instructor. Have fun, go fast, and really learn how to drive. Call 304-725-8444 for class schedules and details. That's 304-725-8444. Friday at the track at Summit Point Motorsports Park.
Is your job sucking the life out of you? Wake up. You can do something else. Information technology. I know what you're thinking, but I'm not a math and science person. No problem, and no excuses, because it's not rocket science. It's My Computer Career. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation today. You can start your new life as an IT pro in as little as 4 months. mycomputercareer.edu. That's mycomputercareer.edu.
The Performance Motorsports Network is a compilation of shows about motorsports. From technical to controversial to just fun, everything you like about racing and gearhead stuff is right here on one internet channel. The Performance Motorsports Network. Tell your friends about it.
Hi, I'm Reed Swanson. Racing has been a part of me and my family for as long as I can remember. I had to make tough choices early on to get to the top. It took hard work and dedication. But it's those tough choices that help me prepare for challenges I would face as a cup driver. Make the right choices today and be ready for the challenges tomorrow. This message is brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
Hi, I'm Timmy Salmito, and you're listening to Race Talk on the Performance Motorsports Network. Now back to the show.
Welcome back to Lead Lap Radio, presented by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsports safety. Also want to acknowledge a couple of our other partners in the Race Chaser Motorsports family, strutmasters.com, the suspension experts, and also My Computer Career, training for a better life, mycomputercareer.edu, free career evaluation. And if IT is something that you want to pursue, My Computer Career will be the place to go for that. You can be an IT professional in as little as 4 months. And as we continue with the show, we were talking about the Indy 500, and we've got the Little 500 winner coming up in our next segment, Cody Swanson. And that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited to talk with him. But, you know, when you look at the 500, it can be cruel or it can be kind. And we definitely saw our fair share of both on Sunday. And one of the first drivers to experience a little bit of cruelty during the race was the Hollywood hero, so to speak, Kyle Souza, ended up crashing out. That was really, really
heartbreaking.
Yeah, for sure.
This sucked. But
it really
in
did.
fairness, somebody brought this up to me after Sunday's race. There is this little thing called sympathy that maybe because it didn't end quite as well as everybody had hoped it would, it'll still, you know, just the fact that they did it and had a shot to do something special will be enough to pull in some partners to help them get back on track and keep going into the future. Because what Kyle Souza did the month of May just to get Juncos Racing into the field was remarkable and cannot be said enough how impressive the job was that he did to put them in the field, to give them a shot. He was running well when that crash happened. The car just stepped out on him, and it was just one of those where I felt my heart crack.
If I look at this, I think it's a statement. It says a lot about the current situation in IndyCar when a team like Juncos Racing can enter the battlefield and instantly get into the field and blow out of the water a team like McLaren, who's supposed to be a world-class Formula One team, who obviously came over here with a huge chip on their shoulder thinking, well, this is going to be easy. And it's poor planning and management on their part that they missed the show, because while Fernando Alonso was crashing during the week leading up to qualifying, the backup car was sitting at the painters. Why? Because it was the wrong color orange. Well, Zach Brown, you got beat because you were more concerned about the color of the car at the last minute than you were actually about having what you needed to go compete. And Juncos Racing steps in with Kyle Souza and takes out a world champion. My bet is...
Yeah, proof of how unprepared McLaren came into this.
Yes, but my bet is they ain't going to do it again next year. They'll be back, and they will be well prepared, is my guess, because they are not going to want to embarrass themselves again. They're going to want some redemption. So I believe McLaren comes back and they do it right. And it's, again, it can be kind or it can be cruel. And we saw that, with a bunch of cars on Sunday that got caught up in that big crash. It's just hard. The Indy 500 is a hard race to finish, and it's a hard race to win. And, when a guy like Simon Pagenaud goes to victory lane for the first time, and you just feel the excitement. I mean, stops his car at the start-finish line to acknowledge
I was going to say,
how cool is that?
I loved that because NBC was on a time crunch, and Simon goes, no, I'm doing this first.
Exactly. I thought that was just a really cool touch. Again, that whole race, as far as I'm concerned, was easily the best of the day. Andrew Fuller in our chat saying the Coke 600 was awesome. Yes, it was.
And we can way better than a few in recent years.
I could talk Indy for hours, but we need to talk about some other races. And obviously, the 600 was the grand finale. And I thought for the first time in a while, I'm not going to say it was as good as Indy because, in my opinion, and that's all it is, my opinion, I don't think it was quite as spectacular as Indy.
No, it wasn't.
But it was one of the best 600s I've seen in years.
It was, and it certainly put out of my memory the couple of years where Truex led all but 8 laps and Kyle led 350-something laps. And But this was great. There was no dominator of this race. We had comers and goers. You had guys who were good during the day that faded at night. You had guys who were good when the sun went down that may not have been good in the sun. So for me, that's what the Coke 600 has always been about. Guys hitting the track changes and being good when it counts.
Yes.
And I felt like this year's race got back to that. You had more lead changes in this race than we had in the last 5 years. You had on-track passing for the lead. You had Martin Truex on a restart with 5 4 wide. When's the last time we could say there was a 4-wide pass for the win at Charlotte?
Yeah. And again, this is what we have with this package. I think this package, the more that everybody kind of gets used to it, the more it seems to make for better and better racing, more and more passing. I thought it was one of the most competitive races at Charlotte I've seen in a long time, obviously excluding the Roval. But it had all, it's hard to sort of stay glued, to a 600-mile race at Charlotte. It's 400 laps. It's a long race. And there really wasn't a long, at least I didn't think, that there was really a long period of the race where I seemed to zone out. I mean, there was enough going on all throughout the race to keep me focused pretty well, for the entire duration of it.
Yeah. For me, Tom, I was hooked from start to finish because from the very beginning it was like, oh, we can actually do things here.
Yeah.
And it's not, just cars going in circles separated by 2 or 3 seconds from one another. We can actually race. And I think we saw some of that during the All-Star race a week ago where it was that kind of stuff. And I said, please carry this through to the 600.
Yeah.
And they did, and I think it's further proof that nighttime is the right time, not just for Martin Truex, by the way, but for this package. This package, more grip, more ability to maneuver around the track, to me, is what this package needs to make it fun, and that was fun.
Yeah, I think it definitely was a great race. Truex winning, Joey Logano finishing second, Kyle Busch third, Chase Elliott fourth, but there's some stories here as we keep going through the top 10. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., very nice run for Roush Fenway and Ricky finishing in fifth. Chris Buescher driving for JTG Doherty finishing in sixth with the 37 car. Alex Bowman, a nice run for seventh. Jimmy Johnson eighth. William Byron ninth. And yes, I read all 4 Hendrick cars in the top 10. So they are figuring it out and coming out of the darkness there. And, of course, rounding out the top 10, Kevin Harvick, who had, let's just say, an eventful evening, to say the least.
Coil of joy.
I was just going to say, I want to point out 1 or 2 more stories outside the top 10, Corey being the first one. The 32 finishing 12th, that is just awesome. There's not enough good that can be said about it.
As Corey told me after the race, that's like winning 3 races for us, especially on an intermediate track.
Yep, exactly. And David Reagan had a really nice run, finishing 15th. And I got a pretty big chuckle out of the last part of the race, the last restart there, when supposedly Truex's spotter was trying to bargain for David Reagan to get out of the way. It's like, excuse me, but I'm racing here too. So I thought that was kind of funny. But David certainly did a nice job for Front Row Motorsports, and they need more runs like that.
Oh my God! If it wasn't for them, for him, staying out trying to win the race and being just eaten alive by tires at the closing laps. Well, I mean, Reagan ran top 10 for a good portion of that race.
And you can't blame the guy for playing the strategy. I mean, it was the only way he was going to finish there and have a chance maybe to run top 5, or a situation where he, everybody pitted and he could go in. But I thought they did the best they could for themselves, and I don't blame them at all. I thought it was a good strategy play. That was that was just a great race. I'm really, really happy for all of the drivers involved in that one. And it was, I think, a good race for NASCAR. It was certainly a good race to wind up the 10 Days of Thunder and all of the coverage during the day. Martin Truex definitely made one of the great passes that you'll see in 600 history.
Oh, yeah. No, that was one of the top. Yeah, that's an understatement.
Yeah.
That's an understatement.
That was pretty ballsy to do that. So Truex getting the win there, and good job on him. We've got Cody Swanson coming up here in just a minute or two after our break, and we're going to talk Little 500. We've got Oswego Speedway to talk about. We've got Xfinity. We got all kinds of stuff before we end the show. So stick around. Still plenty more, and you can join us in our chat if you'd like on Facebook Live on the Race Chaser Media Facebook page. More of Lead Lap Radio presented by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety, right after this.
How to be a great dad in 15 seconds. Bike ride, go fish, walk in the park, phone call, milkshake, play catch, picnic, fly a kite, tell jokes, laugh, talk, read a story, tell a story, bumper car, swing set, bowling, pillow fight, cut loose, stay tight. Whew. Because the smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Automotive technicians and auto service trainees, how would you like to work at the beach and perform for one of the best car care centers in the nation? Lewis Meineke is now looking for skilled automotive technicians to join their award-winning team. If you're a gearhead that knows his or her stuff, or a young up-and-comer that has the motivation and drive to succeed, then you need to make this call today. 302-827-2054. Lewis Meineke Car Care Center, located in beautiful Lewis, Delaware, offers a highly competitive compensation plan, great benefits, a flexible schedule, and did we mention that you're going to be working at the beach? Plus, there's a signing bonus for the right candidates. Technicians must be ASE certified and have a minimum of 6 years experience. Beginners advance at your own pace in one of several entry-level positions. But whatever you do, don't wait. These jobs will go fast. Call Tim at 302-827-2054. That's 302-827-2054. Lewis Meineke Car Care Center. Rev up your career.
You hear that? That's the sound of America's only sports car. That's right. It's a Corvette. But not just any Corvette. It's your Corvette. It's that who cares if there's traffic part of your day. And this can be you when you come to Cooper Corvettes. With 60 years of Corvettes to choose from, there's always a Corvette in your budget. And they'll service any Corvette you bring in. Cooper Corvettes on Route 1 just north of Quantico and Triangle. I'll click or visit coopercorvettes.com.
How to deal with someone who says that's so gay. Outsmart them.
This party is like so gay.
Totally. Excuse me, but did you ladies know the word gay used to mean happy or excited? Then it became a word used to describe gay people. Then somehow it came to mean dumb or stupid, which is how you just used it, which is not very nice.
Ew, that guy is on the football team and super smart, and he totally hates us now.
Totally.
When you say that's so gay, do you realize what you say? Knock it off. Learn more at thinkbeforeyouspeak.com.
Hi, I'm Dylan Bassett, and you're listening to Race Talk on Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of motorsports.
Welcome back to Lead Lap Radio. We are broadcasting live on the Performance Motorsports Network, PMN Radio, if you will. And, of course, also on our Race Chaser Media Facebook page, so you can either be listening or watching, whichever is easier for you on a Monday night, and in this case, Tuesday, because we had
the Memorial holiday
yesterday. Yep. So broadcasting live on a Tuesday night in this case, and joined by the winner of Saturday night's Little 500, which is one of my all-time favorite short track races, next to the Oswego Speedway International Classic, of course. But certainly for the other open wheel type cars, that would be easily outdistancing everything else. And Cody Swanson won it. So as far as I'm concerned, Cody, you're the man. Congratulations. And you not only won it, you pretty much dominated the thing. You weren't in the mood to share much, were you, on Saturday night?
Yeah, it's been a tough couple nights and been looking for a win and hadn't found one yet. So I'd say we were pretty determined. Saturday night was our last chance for the weekend to get one. So I'm thankful it all worked out there at the little 500.
Well, when I was promoting the fact we're going to have you on a few minutes ago, I accidentally gave the win to your brother. So I'll officially give it back to you, and I know Jacob wants to talk too, so we'll let Jacob take over and ask a few questions.
Well, goodness, I'm curious about this because, you know, the storyline last year, Cody, was you giving Gene his first little 500 victory. And was this year the storyline about y'all trying to prove that last year wasn't a fluke? Because between you and Shane leading all but one lap, I mean, we've seen dominant performances by a team in the history of this race before, but what you two did Saturday night, I don't know that we'll ever see again. I mean, did you guys come in with a chip on your shoulder, something to prove, just find something that was that much better?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. You know, I mean, it was a busy week for us, and with the Silver Crown Series, we're having 2 races, and then Little 500 obviously being our biggest pavement sprint car race of the year. It's one you want to win, and you prepare, to put yourself in a position for it. And, Shane had a really strong run last year too. I think we had finished first and third, and then this year was having some engine trouble, and we kind of downsized. When I came on board with Nolan, one of his goals was to try to repeat for Little 500 and to try to win himself a first Silver Crown championship. So down to 1 Silver Crown team, and then to just me and Shane for the Little 500. So after having engine trouble, I think we left Thursday after I qualified to head to the Hoosier 100, and I called back and I wanted to make sure, hey, that you had that backup car up there, and if Shane was still having trouble, to make sure he hopped in it. So I'm pretty sure his first laps on the track were qualifying with that car, and we're right around there. Maybe he had made 2 or 3 more, but he was able to get a decent qualifying time, and with a little time to get acclimated, was really strong there on race night. There for the Little 500. So it was kind of, we each had our own race to run. I was fortunate to be starting from the pole, and really felt great about our car and our chances in that first stint, and had a little trouble on a pit stop, but the guys stayed really calm, and where we could have cross-threaded a nut on an axle that would have ended our night, they made sure, hey, to get it on there right, even if it took an extra lap, and give us a chance to continue to race for it. And at that point, Shane was carrying the torch a lot through the middle of the race while we tried to recover, but was really fortunate. We've had some great race cars there at Anderson, and able to kind of drive back through the field and catch some cautions at the right time and put ourselves in a position to be back at the front at the end. And luckily for us, it all worked out.
You've made 4 attempts at this race, Cody. You've now won 3 of them. I mean, what has this last 4 years or so been like for you at Anderson with the Little 5? Because everybody talks about the run that Eric Gordon had when he was winning and seemed unbeatable at this race. But what's it been like for you, just stepping in here the last few years and having this run of success that you've had?
Yeah, I mean, it's been really neat. I think this year was my 5th attempt at the Little 500. That first year I ran for a friend, Tom Brewer, in the Speed Chasers car, and then and then snuck in for Richard Hoffman when they came back and were searching for their first Little 500 win, and was able to score that for them in 16. And then the last 3 we've been in Gene Nolan's number 4. And something that's really neat is that we're able to lead laps in all 3 different cars, and one for Gene, and obviously had a chance to win for the Hoffman team in 16, and it's really been a lot of fun. I love the Silver Crown races because they're long, and because you're never out of it. If you're in a real short 30-lap race and somebody's got a better car than you at the beginning, you're probably not going to have a chance to beat them if they get in front of you. But you're in the Silver Crown Series, and then in Little 500, the races are so long that as long as you're persistent and stay after it and keep moving around the racetrack, as it changes or as your car changes, maybe you'll catch on to something that you can race your way back to the front. And I think each and every year, I've been at Little 500, we encounter some sort of trouble, and that's just half the battle, because at some point everybody does. It's hard to have a flawless 500 laps, and this year we really didn't have too much trouble. Had one pit stop that went a little long and lost just an extra lap to one time, but The guys will either get collected with lap traffic or, if you have a mechanical problem. I've been really fortunate to have made it to the end of every attempt I've had thus far in the 500, and just try to be smart and keep your nose clean. And I said, if you can get going fast enough, maybe you'll be back toward a good position there at the end.
What is it like to actually race in the little 500? Cody, you've obviously been successful at it and are one of the best of the modern, the latest generation of drivers to compete there. But I have talked to a few drivers that have raced it numerous times, and some have been successful, some not so much in terms of results. But I'm told it's about as brutal a race physically as you can possibly run. And I remember when Bentley Warren started driving for Glenn Nibel, Glenn was really concerned about making sure that Bentley was completely comfortable with the seat position and everything else in the car, because it's such an incredibly tough race physically to run. He wanted his drivers to make sure that everything was just perfect. Is that kind of how you find it as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty grueling, just because it's so much longer than everything else we run. And for our style of cars, we don't have, I mean, at least I don't anyway, have a big seat with a nice insert that's custom molded and everything like that. I mean, you're kind of in an old school type seat, aluminum on the bottom, and it's hard for me, make sure my legs don't, go to sleep or pick up a sore spot. And this year we had to hustle, and we had to change the steering box on Saturday morning, and didn't get a knee guard back in there quite the way it needed to be, and so my knee was bouncing off the fitting there for 500 laps. But it's one of them races, I think, that physically you got to be in shape, but mentally you've got to keep yourself toughened up enough to where you can deal with the aches and pains and know that everyone else is feeling them too, and it's time to get your job done. So it definitely is the most grueling race that I get to run each year, but it's one of the most fun. I kind of want to embrace the challenge, and when you're getting down to the end and everybody's tired, it's your best chance to make up time. So
for those,
definitely one of my favorites.
I want to just point out, for those who don't know the little 500 or haven't, it's 33 sprint cars on a quarter-mile track, and they start Indy style, three wide rows of 11. Jacob, you and I have both seen that race. We've been there, and it's one of the most incredible things to watch because the pit stops are just crazy. It's not like the infield's all well organized like a NASCAR pit area. Everybody's all over the place.
Right.
I mean, it's just an amazing thing to watch.
It is. It's a spectacle like no other.
Yeah.
And to win it means you've done something special, like Cody, to win it 3 times now. That was the last point that I wanted to bring up. Cody, obviously you've had so much success in the Silver Crown Series and won some of the biggest short track races there are, but now with having 3 little 500s in your cap, I mean, where does winning this race stack up for you as far as your career and some of the big races you've won?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely up there. To win my first one was really special. It only was my first, but Richard Hoffman had been somebody that won everything there was in short track racing, and that was one thing they were missing. So to be able to do that for them, and then a couple years later to turn around and kind of do the same thing for Gene Nolan was really special. But this one was kind of like I said, it was just neat. I don't know if we kind of had a chip on our shoulder about it, but wanted to prove that that we were a contender kind of in any year, and it was really neat to really have a good car all race long, and I felt like we had a shot to win it, kind of no matter what we were encountering, and really special. I know there's not many guys that have won it twice, and there's even fewer that have won it 3 times. Obviously, I think Eric Gordon's won 9 of them. But it gets to be pretty thin company of the guys that have won 3 of them, and it's really special for me to be on that list.
Well, and you're still plenty young to run a bunch more if that's what you want to do. So who knows how many you could end up winning if you keep up the way you're going.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I just take one year at a time. At some point, I still like to hold on to the shred of hope that maybe I might get a chance somewhere in leagues above ours, whether that be NASCAR or IndyCar, and unfortunately it seems like there's a lot of elements to it that go beyond the driving or working on the cars, and fortunately it's kind of been where I've been limited to stay. But at the same time, I've been so fortunate to be involved, whether it be the United States Auto Club or here at the Little 500, to have some great rides in short track racing and to be able to enjoy a career. It's been really neat for me to be a part of.
Well, congratulations on another Little 500 victory. 3 out of 5 is pretty doggone good, and I have the feeling there's more to come. That's Cody Swanson. We're going to step aside. When we come back, we'll talk some Oswego Speedway. We got a whole bunch of other races to talk about as well. Stick around. We're still about a half hour from the checkered flag here on Lead Lap Radio. Be right back.
Parents, your son or daughter has had their license for a while now, but you want to make sure they're prepared for any situation they may face on the road. High school driver's ed doesn't teach them to drive defensively. They need to be prepared for any highway emergency. For less than a month's insurance, and a whole lot less, BSR instructors at Summit Point Motorsports Park in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, will teach your son or daughter how to respond instantly and positively to unexpected situations on the road. BSR's specialized accident avoidance training teaches swerve to avoid maneuvers at highway speed, ocular driving, which focuses driving attention on ways to avoid accidents, vehicle dynamics and feedback, skid control and skid recovery, threshold braking on straights and progressive braking on curves, and off-road recovery techniques. This is stuff driver's ed simply doesn't teach. So call BSR today, 304-725-8444. Give your kid the skill set needed to drive safely and responsibly on the highway. That's 304-725-8444.
You hear that? That's the sound of America's only sports car. That's right. It's a Corvette. But not just any Corvette. It's your Corvette. It's that who cares if there's traffic part of your day. And this can be you when you come to Cooper Corvettes. With 60 years of Corvettes to choose from, there's always a Corvette in your budget. And they'll service any Corvette you bring in. Cooper Corvettes on Route 1 just north of Quantico and Triangle. Call, click, or visit CooperCorvettes.com.
HMS Motorsport is the leader in motorsport safety. HMS serves a majority of NASCAR, IndyCar, and IMSA WeatherTech teams, as well as countless SCCA and club-level racers and driving enthusiasts throughout North America. Featuring world-renowned brands like Schubert helmets, Schroep belts, Adidas suits and shoes, Valero fireproof underwear, Lifeline fire systems, and even Racecom radio kits, HMS has the right product for your type of racing and your budget. Their representatives are experts on making your track driving as safe as possible. With locations in Mooresville, North Carolina, and Danvers, Massachusetts, the staff at HMS is always ready to take the time and help you find the right product for your specific safety needs. You have family and friends who care about you, so don't settle for second when it comes to motorsport safety. Just stop in to HMS Motorsport, visit them on their website at hmsmotorsport.com, or send them a message on Facebook. Tell them the folks from Race Chaser Media sent you.
Hi, this is John Ondrasik of Five for Fighting, here for RAD, the entertainment industry's voice for road safety. You know, style is a personal thing, and your lifestyle is your business. But if you take it on the road, it becomes everybody's business. So please, plan ahead, designate before you celebrate. Friends, don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service announcement brought to you by RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Brandon McReynolds, and you're listening to Race Talk on the Performance Motorsports Network. Now back to the show.
Somehow Metallica and Brandon McReynolds just seem to go together like wine and cheese, don't they? Welcome back to Lead Lap Radio, presented by HMS Motorsports, strutmasters.com, and mycomputercareer.edu.
Did you bring up wine and cheese because we still have more Indy to talk about?
No, but we can get back there. But right now I want to talk about the short track version of Indy, which, of course, are the super modifieds. They opened their season at the Oswego Speedway up in Oswego, New York, the only weekly super modified track in the country right now, and it has been for years. They opened their season. They had the Jim Champagne Memorial twin 50s for the big block super modifieds, and then of course the SBS small block super modifieds and the 350 supers also on the card. And I loved it. We'll, if you have not listened yet to our Inside Groove podcast that uploads on Thursdays on from Race Chaser Media, we'll have all the stuff from Oswego on that show. We'll break all of the divisions down and talk more extensively. I want to talk about one particular winner from opening night at Oswego, or what turned into opening morning on Sunday due to rain. On Saturday night, that rained out the features till Sunday morning. Allison Slode, who has not raced a super modified competitively since 2017, late in the year, when she suffered a crash in an ISMA super modified show at the Waterford Speed Bowl. Came out of retirement this year. She is teamed with Otto Sitterly, the 27-time, not really, track champion, it feels like it though,
right,
who's dominated the Aero era of super modifieds. Yes. Otto got the win in the first feature, and then Allison Slode goes out, holds them all off, and wins feature number 2. And let me tell you, from what I understand, she earned every penny of that victory, because every bit of that, because she had the hot dogs all behind her, and she stuck to her line and nobody could pass her. And
that's awesome.
That's huge, because first of all, the comeback story for Allison. Second of all, the fact that Allison was the first female super modified feature winner in the entire history of the Oswego Speedway. And honestly, I saw her run a bunch of times on the ISMA Tour. Those are the super modifieds with the top wings. She had never run a show without that top wing. This was her first time in the sort of Oswego iteration of super modifieds, and she gets it done already on opening day. You get the feeling, Jacob, that she's going to give the boys a serious run for their money over the course of the year, and this won't be the last time she sits in victory lane.
I completely agree. You know, I've said for years that Allison, if she could get in the right situation, absolutely had the talent necessary to go out and be successful in the super modifieds, and she proved it on opening day, 10,000%.
Oh yeah, 28 years old.
She's got a lot of time in front of her.
She does, yeah. I mean, you know, she definitely nobody would have expected her. And I don't think she would have expected her to come out.
I don't think she did expect it, frankly.
I think it was, you know, she seemed very surprised at victory lane and almost kind of in shock. And it's been fun to see some of the retweets and the reactions from other females in the racing world and whatever. It's really gotten some play, and that's nothing but good for the Oswego Speedway and super modified racing, and good for Allison as well, because boy, her confidence is just going to soar now. And
yes,
goodness,
for sure.
I mean,
momentum's a funny thing.
It
isn't
is, yeah. I mean, and you know, like I said, the first time out for the new single plane tail wing, if you want to call it that. That
they didn't look as bad as I thought they were going to.
No, I was one of the biggest critics of that decision, and I don't mind saying that I'm happy I'm wrong, because it looks like it actually did make some of the ISMA cars more competitive. Of course, you had a few on hand. Danny Bose was there, and one of my favorite drivers or people to watch race, because he's just so good in anything he drives, John McKennedy, you know, certainly could have been a winner, and you know, looked really good. And so I think hopefully more of these ISMA guys will come out with the new wing. But that was a big deal for Allison and getting that win, and it was a big thing for Oswego Speedway and short track racing in general, because you just don't hear very much about females winning at the short track level. And let me tell you, she can walk into that. Allison can drive, and she certainly is one to watch going forward in the season. Oswego getting their opening races in on Sunday, and again, we'll have complete breakdown with Camden Proud on the Inside Groove podcast here on Race Chaser Media a little bit later in the week. And we'll give you all that information. If you want to know how do I find that, we'll just go on Facebook and type in Inside Groove Podcast and just click the like button, and that will make you a part of what we're doing and alert you as when new episodes come up. So we go from there to more open wheel stuff.
Yes.
Because we had not one, but twice the fun for the World of Outlaws here in Charlotte Friday and Saturday. And I'm going to tell you something.
Number one, 2-day shows are always better.
They are, and boy, oh boy. I mean, first of all, congratulations and kudos to the officials for running both of these shows off extremely efficiently.
Yes.
The late model classes that joined the World of Outlaws, I thought for the most part, put on great racing. We had the Fuel Racing Series Friday. We had the Sika Racing Series, Sika Touring Series on Saturday, Crate Lates, both divisions, Crate Lates. But my gosh, the Outlaws, what a pair of races.
Before we get into it, kudos to the officials that had to pull double duty at the big track.
Yes.
And the Outlaws.
Yes.
That's a hard day.
That is a hard day
for
sure.
Saturday, yeah.
Absolutely. Ooh. Well, even the fact that, because you got to figure it's the same people Friday night.
Right.
So you're doing Friday night, Saturday night. That's a long weekend for all of them. And I mean, a couple of really good Outlaws races. And, I mean, I thought Friday night was amazing. You know, and then we get to Saturday, and my goodness, what in the world happened at the end of that race? It was like everybody had a flat tire.
Okay, so I'm going to explain what happened at the end of that race
Please.
On Saturday, because Jeff Gluck was confused too. Jeff Gluck from The Athletic instead of from jeffgluck.com now.
That's much less entertaining to see.
I know, but you know what? I'm happy for Jeff getting into our
gig.
Anyway, so Jeff Gluck from The Athletic asked me what the heck is up with all the tire problems on Saturday night, and I said, that's what you get when you have an absolute rubber-down racetrack and don't do any track work before the main, because physics prove that rubber always wears against rubber more than against dirt. So when you get a racetrack that's smooth as glass and burns tires off, real quick because there's a ton of rubber in the main groove, it's going to turn dirt tires into asphalt tires really quick. And if you looked at Logan Schuchart's tire after the race on Saturday night, he probably wouldn't have made it another lap either. It looked like a pavement tire coming off the right rear of that car. So that's what led to all the tire failures. And if you were counting, I think we had 12 in the final 6 laps of that race.
I mean, it was a little ridiculous, honestly. I think obviously it made for a unique show, but it also was kind of crazy. I mean, it would seem to me like we either need to develop a better tire or we need to do something different with the track in order to prevent that, because, I mean, that was just awful, to be honest, but good for Logan Schuchart because he spent a little more time on the bottom than a lot of those other guys did. I think that probably had something to do with it, too, just that little bit of extra because he wasn't so much in all that rubber the entire race. I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but, he
was searching around.
He was, it definitely was a big win for him. And anytime Logan Schuchart wins a race, I'm very happy. We had 2 really, really good World of Outlaw races. Yeah, I was going to say on Friday, Gio Scelzi, who's like, 12?
17, thanks.
Looks 12. But, boy, he drives like a 45-year-old who's been doing this for 20 years.
See, I said that on Friday night after it was over, and I got in his head through his older brother a bit on Saturday. I asked Dominic, I said, what makes the kid so good? And Dominic grins. He looks at me and goes, he learns. He goes to school every time he's on the racetrack. If he makes a mistake one corner, the next time around, he's like, okay, that didn't work. I'm not going to do that again.
Right.
And he either goes back to what worked or he finds something else that worked. And in regards to that, he outsmarts the competition better than just about anybody else that's in the game right now. And at 17, to do that at 17 is not an acquired skill. That's a skill that you just have. It's part of you. And it's something that I think is going to make Gio a superstar as he grows his career with the Indy Race Parts team. He and Bernie make a scary combination, and I mean that in a good way, because I don't think he would be having this kind of success with anybody else turning the wrenches right now. And God bless you, Bernie, by the way. I didn't attempt to say your last name because I always screw it up. I'm not going to be in the camp as an announcer that butchers somebody's last name in front of God and everybody. So
hate that.
Yeah, no.
But that was definitely a really.
It was a feel good, and I think it was proof of truly what Gio's capable of, because he held off the best in the business in Kyle Larson to win that. He drove past him like he was standing still.
He's got a very bright future ahead of him, that's for sure, and did a really nice job on Friday. 2 great races, according to Johnny Gibson. This is going to happen again next year, so I hope he's right.
Yes,
I know we haven't seen an official announcement.
The 2-day show will return next year for the 2nd annual Patriot Nationals, and that's good news because this and $15,000 to win is not a small purse.
No,
so
not at all.
Very, very good things going on.
2 nice nights of racing at Charlotte on the dirt there, and that was a lot of fun to watch. We have got one more segment when we come back. Several races still to hit in lightning round form. We are going to go quickly through the lightning round. When we come back, more of Lead Lap Radio here on the Performance Motorsports Network and our Race Chasing Media Facebook Live after this.
When do you think of a plumber? Like most people, even if it's an emergency, you can be confident about who will arrive to help you. For quality and reliability, count on someone you can trust. Call on the plumbing services of Hague Quality Water of Maryland. Plumbing doesn't have to be an emergency. We handle all kinds of preventative maintenance too. Hague Quality Water of Maryland is family owned here in Annapolis since 1993. For a refreshing choice, call us at 888-84-WATER or visit us online.
Here at Lewis Meineke, we're more than just your average car care center. Hey, it's Dave, your neighbor from Lewis Meineke. Whether you need an oil change, brakes, tires, or anything under the hood, we've got you covered. Take advantage of our free check engine light service as well. Yes, free. And don't forget about our free shuttle service. Never stress, we'll take care of the rest. On with life. Give us a call at Lewis Meineke, 302-827-2054.
Is your job sucking the life out of you? Wake up. You can do something else. Information technology. I know what you're thinking, but I'm not a math and science person. No problem and no excuses, because it's not rocket science. It's My Computer Career. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation today. You can start your new life as an IT pro in as little as 4 months. mycomputercareer.edu. That's mycomputercareer.edu.
Do you love the sound of high-revving motors and the smell of burning rubber? Do you want to get your car sideways right at the ragged edge of control? If you've always wanted to try drifting or learn to improve your drifting skills, Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier motorsports facility, has the expert instructors and the specialized track to teach you how to drift and the skills necessary to drift competitively. From skid pad to open sessions, Summit Point Motorsports Park has the safe and open environment that allows drifters of all skill levels, new to intermediate, to get sideways and smoking. With a focus on safety and the skill set necessary to drift competitively, Summit Point Motorsports Park's Drift Nirvana is just the thing for you. Call for your reservation today, 304-725-8444. Or for more information, go online, summitpoint-raceway.com, or you can email them at office@bsrinc.com. Drift Nirvana, getting you sideways the right way.
If you own a gun, you have a full-time responsibility. When you aren't using it, be sure it can't get into the hands of curious children, troubled teenagers, a thief, or anyone else who might misuse it. Your family, friends, and neighbors are all counting on you. Remember, always, lock it up. For more information on firearm storage safety, visit ncpc.org. This message brought to you by the National Crime Prevention Council, the Bureau of Justice Assistance, and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Matt Tift, and you're listening to Race Talk on the Performance Motorsports Network.
76 trombones there, bringing us back, otherwise known as Matt Tift, as he was one of the drivers on Sunday, didn't have such good luck in the Coca-Cola 600, but in fact, certainly Front Row Motorsports with David Reagan did, and see some improvement over there at Front Row as we go through the season, and that is good to see. Welcome back to our lightning round here at Lead Lap Radio. I am Tom Baker. Jacob Seelman will be back in his chair in just a moment. We got Chris Murdoch over there punching the buttons on the production side in the tech shed, so to speak. And lightning round's always fun because we get to go through a bunch of things around the table really quickly. And we're going to start with the Xfinity race. Some real stories here. Yes, Tyler Reddick pretty much dominated the event, but some highlights here. Not a big surprise to see Justin Allgaier finish second. Jeffrey Earnhardt, third.
Yeah.
I mean, great run for Jeffrey. And, you know, this was, of course, all of these guys running for, various soldiers and, and fallen heroes. And the military presence at Charlotte, just, unbelievable. And, great run for Jeffrey to be third on such a special weekend. Noah Gragson, I would argue his best run of the year to finish fourth. And Justin Haley, who was on our show last week, finished up in fifth, and that was really good.
After coming from the back because of a broken axle during qualifying.
Yep. Michael Annett, Jeb Burton, Ryan Sieg, another top 10 finish for Ryan, Austin Cindric, and Brandon Jones. Ross Chastain this close to a top 10 in the 4-car. And then another comeback story. That was a brand new car for JD Motorsports. Brand spanking new, best car that they've had in a while. And Chastain was in the top 6 in practice and all the way through the day, and just not quite the race that he would have wanted because they had an electrical issue in qualifying, and he had to come from the back. Didn't get to take time, but good run for him. And I also want to point out the fact that Landon Castle, here's a driver who I don't think gets nearly the respect he deserves. What did he do that's worth talking about? Well, not much. He just hopped in Morgan Shepherd's car and went out and qualified.
I think 13th.
Yeah, up in the top 15. And he was top 10 fast in practice.
Yeah.
The sad part of this story is they just didn't have enough
money to run the whole race.
Yeah, they didn't have enough tires. They didn't have enough money. So he pulled off about a third of the way into stage 2, I think. And that's sad. But I wanted to give him some props, Jacob, because he deserves it. I mean, that was an amazing run.
I love this story because Mike Beam from GMS Racing has given some setup help to Morgan Shepherd in the last couple weeks.
Yeah.
They want to get that program better, and I think Landon proved that with the right parts and pieces, what that 89 car is still capable of, and that's great to see.
No doubt.
It was a feel-good moment as far as qualifying was concerned, but I think Tyler Reddick laid down the statement of the weekend. The road to the championship goes through him, period.
And RCR,
discussion.
I point out hastily.
Yes.
Richard Childress Racing doesn't get the credit they deserve either.
Downsizing from 5 cars to 1 was
best
the best
thing they
decision.
ever did.
Yes, and Richard said 5 was way too much, but I had a promise to honor and I was going to do it.
Well, and Tyler Reddick, a great get over there because he's going to make Richard a very, very good Cup Series racer, maybe as soon as next year. Okay, earlier in the week, Millbridge Speedway, Outlaw Karts, Speed 51 Open, 51-51 to the winner. Still trying to...
And lap money, by the way.
And lap money. Still trying to lobby for 51 cents. I think we'll throw that in next year. It'll be the Race Chaser part of it. We'll sponsor the 51 cents just to make it 51-51-51 to the winner. But, man, Kyle Larson, I mean, this was another deal. Kyle won, and that's awesome that Kyle won. But, oh, my goodness gracious, we almost had magic happen.
Yeah, literally and figuratively. So Chase Magic, who after Max McLaughlin started on the pole and declined the Phantom Racing Chassis back row bonus, Chase Magic, who was scheduled to start second, took the challenge, went to 24th, and Hello came all the way through the field in 51 laps to second and was on Larson's tail tank coming off turn 4 to the checkered flag. It was something that, I really didn't believe could happen at that racetrack just because of the amount of chaos you have to get through to have a shot. But Chase Magic had an unbelievable race car. He won the Tuesday night show, and just a cool deal for that kid from California.
Oh, my goodness. And by the way, we should point out for our audience, what was the bonus that Kyle Larson turned down that Chase Magic was happy to race for? $25,000. Okay. And I consider that he finished first and a half. Because if he'd had one more corner, Kyle Larson was not going to win that race.
And by the way, Larson's cart was falling apart.
Yeah.
Lost the muffler. The wing broke during the pole shuffle. Shoot.
Yeah, that car was a mess by the end of the race, but boy, he got the win. That's all that really matters. And again, trying to finish it out in the 600, didn't quite get it done. But what a week for Kyle Larson between the All-Star race and that race. Not a bad 7-day period at all.
No.
Won quite a bit of money there, and Chase Magic just was magic.
Yeah, speaking of Larson, he picked up an outlaw win at Lawrenceburg Monday night. Wow.
I was wondering if you were going to get that out. Yeah, that was cool to see. He almost won Friday. Well, I don't even want to say that. He didn't almost win Friday night. He finished second to Gio Celsi, who was easily the best car, but it was good to see him get that win. He's just on fire. He loves the dirt stuff. I think, honestly, him being able to race dirt kind of helps him with the Cup Series stuff.
Yes.
I think it elevates his whole program there and his whole mood and kind of approach. So good for him to get that win. It was a great weekend. There's so many other races that we could talk about. We had the Little 600.
Zane Smith won that.
Yeah, that Zane Smith won at GoPro Motorplex on Tuesday. Was good that Zane got that win. Just so much going on over the course of the weekend and the week. Not only here, but of course across the country, and not even to talk about the Freedom 100 at Indy, which we forgot.
Which was another photo finish.
And what an amazing win
for Oliver
Askew. Yes. And there were, again, such talent. There's not an abundant quantity of Indy Lights cars, but the quality is certainly there of talent. And Toby Sowery, who was a driver that I've kind of followed on his ride-up, he almost stole the show. I thought that Toby was going to win. Of course, you had poor Chris Wyndham, who just that poor guy.
Chris Wyndham had a nasty flip at the Hoosier 100. Had a nasty crash in the Lights race. Had a nasty crash in the Carb Night Classic.
That's right.
Yeah, it was in the Crown car. And then went and finally had a decent run and finished 5th in the Little 500 on Saturday.
Finally
night.
Got it right. And got some luck. I felt bad for him on lap 1, and I felt bad for David Malukas, too, because that's a young man with a lot of talent. And, again, the car just stepped out on him. I think he probably tried to make a move on lap 1 that was a little bit too aggressive and just lost the handle, and Wyndham was just a sitting duck. But, oh, my goodness, the talent in that division. Askew getting the win over his teammate.
Yes, Ryan Norman, who's tried so hard to win an Indy Lights race.
Yep. But those are some drivers to watch in the future for sure. That was a whole lot of fun. Memorial Day week and weekend is just amazing. When it comes down to it, it doesn't matter what kind of racing you enjoy.
Right.
It seems like there's something big going on all the way around.
Always.
Can I give some props to some people who don't get
Sure.
credit enough
Absolutely.
here in Concord? Props to the state police, the track security, and everybody behind the scenes that kept the crowd moving, the traffic flowing. Everybody there did a great job. We weren't sitting in traffic very long getting there. every morning the state police were out making sure everything was good, and the track security kept everybody where they were supposed to be. So awesome job by everybody involved.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of people to make a race weekend work at a big place like Charlotte, and it was just a great experience, and thankful and blessed to be able to have been a part of that, and looking forward. This is sort of the unofficial start of the summer and the racing season. Even a lot of the northern tracks got open where it wasn't still snowing or raining, and so all the way around a great weekend of racing. Looking forward to what's ahead, which is a lot. Obviously,
yes.
We get into June and everything kicks into high gear. So,
hey, can I ask my final thought here?
Sure, quickly.
Does Martin Truex's win on Sunday night make him the number one at Joe Gibbs Racing now?
Well, probably in terms of recent momentum, but I think you'd have a hard time saying that Kyle Busch is still not the number one guy. I still think the road to the championship out of that Gibbs stable goes through Kyle, but Martin's certainly making a case for that. And, he really, the more comfortable that he and Cole become over there, the more I think that I could change my opinion after another month or two. We'll see how it goes. But, again, hope that all of you enjoyed the show, and hope all of you enjoyed your weekend of racing.
Yes.
Jacob, take us out.
All right. So for our partners with HMS Motorsport, mycomputercareer.edu, and strutmasters.com, we thank them for supporting this show, and remind you we're here every Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern for Lead Lap Radio. For Tom Baker and Chris Murdoch behind the glass, I'm Jacob Seelman. Keep it off the wall, and if you're headed to a racetrack somewhere, we might just see you there. Have a safe racing weekend. Good night.
You've been listening to Lead Lap Radio, powered by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety. You can find them on the web at hmsmotorsport.com. Lead Lap Radio is a Race Chaser Media production. For more exciting and passionate motorsport content, follow Race Chaser Media on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, and visit racechasermedia.com. The opinions expressed by our guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of the staff, management, affiliates, or marketing partners of Race Chaser Media. No part of the show may be reproduced in any manner without the expressed written consent of Race Chaser Media. Thank you for listening.